Welcome back to class. Let's go ahead and start with just doing our inward figure eight, just like this. We're going to do a few, and then we're going to raise it up, outward figure eight strike, and we're going to do front strike, simple up, inward figure eight block, outward figure eight strike, front strike, simple up, and we're going to just continue with this. So we're doing this combination right here. Inward figure eight block, outward figure eight strike, front strike, simple up. Same thing. Block, strike, front strike. And we're just going to keep going until we start to flow with it quite a bit. Inward figure eight, outward figure eight strike, front strike, simple up. Inward figure eight, outward figure eight strike, front strike, simple up, straight to the inward figure eight. Outward figure eight, strike, up, same thing. Keep going with this combination. You should be able to move around a little bit with it. So if you can, just practice moving. A little bit of footwork in there. Doesn't matter which way you move. Excuse me, that should be inward figure eight, outward figure eight, front strike, up. So I want you to be able to just kind of move freely. Like I said, you shouldn't be held down based off of what your hands are doing, which direction you can move. You should be able to move easily in all directions while throwing any of these strikes. We don't have to do footwork like this. We just move around. I want to be able to tie these techniques together pretty easily so they can flow from one to the other. You can try to get 1, 2, 3, 4 with your inward figure eight block. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do 6 sometimes too. Try not to go over 6 though, and try not to go under 4. So try not to go 2 or 8 or anything higher than that. Because I like to do 4, but sometimes I'll go to 6. For now, I still want you catching in between. So whenever I do this, I catch it. Later on, you might do something like this, where you hit and you just pop it. So as I raise it up, I just kind of pop it in order to change the momentum and change the direction. But right now, I want you still catching it each and every time. All right, so hopefully you were doing that in middle grip. Now what I want you to do is I want you to do the same thing in a long grip. So remember with the long grip, we want about 2 fingers down at the bottom worth. And then we're going to do the exact same thing. So we're going to start off with our inward figure eight block, outward figure eight strike, front strike, simple up. Notice how when I caught it in my long grip though. I didn't catch it in my medium grip, long grip. It is a little bit more difficult if you usually practice in one grip. Like I said, I usually practice in a medium grip, but a long grip is going to be good, especially for what we're going to do later on today. We're going to be working on striking actual targets. And when you strike targets, you want to be holding it with a long grip. You don't want to be holding with a medium grip. Keep going. It is a little bit more difficult when we go into our different grips, especially if we practice a lot doing it one way, but we haven't practiced the other ways. Remember, we have to be able to practice it in all the different grips. All right, So next thing we're going to do is we're going to do around the neck, and we're just going to practice it. So we're not going to do the entire combination for the around the neck. We're just going to start off, and this is the way I usually like to teach it. So I'm going to be holding it in a middle grip, just like this. I'm going to have my arms kind of straight out, and I'm going to bring it back, and I'm going to catch over. Remember, whichever hand is receiving it, so this one's feeding it, the one that's holding it, feeds it, and this one receives it. So whichever one's receiving it goes on top. My forearms make the X. Remember, I'm not coming underneath where my tricep is with my forearm. I see some beginner students, they end up doing this. We're making an X right in front of us, just like this. And I just want you to go out, and I want you to do the same thing. Now my other hand is the receiver, and it's going over the top, making my X. Back. And we're just going to go back and forth, just like this. So we're just practicing bringing it around the neck. We want to be able to control it. A lot of times some people have it so they hit this shoulder whenever they're doing it. And see my shoulder blades getting hit each time. I need you to not hit your shoulder blade whenever we're doing this. So it might happen a few times, and you're just going to have to change the direction. Maybe I have a little arc this way. That way it's coming down on this side, but then raises up on this side to make it over that shoulder. Whatever little adjustments that you need to do in order to make it so you don't hit your shoulder each time that you do this. Then go ahead and try to figure those out. So we're just extending arms out and bringing it back. This is just going to help us catch it. Notice that time I hit my shoulder too. Usually it's a little bit easier, especially when we're doing the entire combination. It brings out and it has this little bit of a arc to it. It's going to make it a little bit easier. Like I said, this part right here is just for getting the muscle memory of which hand is going to come on top, and then trying not to be afraid of it. Even if I make that mistake and I hit my shoulder, it really doesn't hurt. I mean, if I whack it really hard, yes, it's going to hurt. But if I'm just going around here right now, you know, I'm hitting directly on my bone, which kind of hurts, but it doesn't really hurt. So I'm not afraid of it. And you kind of have to get rid of that fear of the nunchucks in order to be able to use it. If you're scared that you're going to get hurt, you're not going to be proficient with the weapon. Again, that is one of the things with nunchucks, is that they have the ability to hurt the user just as much as they do the person it's being used against. So you want to be careful about these things. But we also can't be afraid of it. We have to be in control of the weapon. We can't let the weapon make us scared of it and then we can't use it, or else what's the point of training and fighting with it? So keep practicing, getting used to that change. Like I said, each time I change whichever hand is going to be on top. So if my left hand has it and it's feeding it to my right arm is going to be on top. If my left hand's the receiver, it's going to be on top. Bring it out just like this. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the whole around the neck part 1 combination, and we're going to be alternating arms with it each time. So the around the neck part 1 combination starts, and you can start it here, you can start it with the simple up, grabbing it, either way, but it starts with this side strike. So remember, a side strike comes from over the shoulder, not a front strike, which comes from under the shoulder. Side strike's over. I have this horizontal line that I'm going through, and now as I hit this, I'm going to bring it back, catch it, bring it around the neck, and after I bring it around the neck, it goes right into the armpit and I catch it. Now I'm going to simple up, front switch, I'm going to do the same thing onto the other side. Catch it, lift it up, front switch, side strike, around the back, around the neck, under the armpit. That side strike, this whole combination right here, side strike, around the back, around the neck, under the armpit, that's around the neck part 1. Then we just do simple up, front switch, same thing to the other side. So I want you working on this right now. Again, I still want you catching it each time. I want you practicing that catch. If you do notice sometimes I kind of cheat and I bring it like this and then go straight to that side strike, I'm sorry that I'm doing that. I want you to not do that right now. I want you to still catch it. Even if you see me do it, do as I say, not as I do. Later on when you're doing double nunchucks, you'll understand why I do this a lot now, is because I've been doing a lot of double nunchucks where you obviously can't catch it. You know, say if I'm doing my front switch, I can't do that. I have to stop it up here for double nunchucks. So that's the reason I'm doing it. But as for you right now, as you're still learning, I want you to still catch it. each and every time. When you start to feel more comfortable, go ahead and pick up the pace a little bit. And remember, you're not going to catch it, and it's not going to be perfect every single time. Don't worry about it. I still make mistakes. Sometimes I'll come here, and I'll impact, and I'll hit my thumb. And that hurts, especially if it's cold outside. It really hurts. Right now it's summer, so I'm not too worried about it. It doesn't hurt as much. But whenever you do this nunchuck training when it's cold, it hurts quite a bit more. But remember, no one's perfect. You're never going to catch it every single time, and you can't expect yourself to. Even if you've been training for a long time, you catch it more percentage of the time, but you're never going to catch it every single time. There's always going to be mistakes. So don't worry if you make a mistake. You've probably seen me make a few mistakes. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes as long as we learn from them. Again, as you start to feel more comfortable, try to pick up the pace. One thing I want you to try to avoid is striking at an angle for this. Yes, it still works. I can do that just the same, but I don't want that angle strike. So I don't want it going from shoulder to hip here as a diagonal. I don't want that. I want it on one plane, just like this. Boom. So it's on a horizontal line. Strike, and then yes, it's going to have to be dropped down a little bit as after we do that in order to go around the neck. So keep that side strike on that horizontal plane. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to practice again what we did last class, which was the opening sequence for blitz combo, or for the blitz kata. So we're going to start off here. When we're doing the kata, we start off with the bow. Feet are together, left leg steps out, and I press it out, just like this. Now we're going to do blitz kata. We're just going to do the opening right now again. So as I step, I cock this up. As I finish my step, I finish my strike, or I do my strike at the same time. So again, cock it up, strike. Now, as it's over here, as I bring it back across to this side, that's when I do my turn. I lift up, I catch it with my simple up, I step, side swing, and then immediately go into a back stance, and I'm doing my inward figure eight block. So let's do that again. We're going to start with the bow. You don't have to do the bow every time, especially if you're just practicing the sequences. When you do the entire kata, you want to do the bow. Ready? Step with the left, strike. Bring it across, up, and in, just like this. Again. Step, strike, bring it around, up, and in. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my back turned towards you. Press it out. I get ready, I cock it out, I step and strike. I bring it back. Notice how this foot and the nunchuck going to this side are connected. I'm here, I'm here. Go from forward stance, go to my back stance. I raise it up, I side swing, and I bring it in for my inward figure eight. Again, I'm here. I step, swing, around, up, under, and to the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build onto this kata just a little bit more. So from the front, this is what it's going to look like. I start off, step, strike, back, round, up, down, inward figure eight. So now I'm in this back stance right here. And we're going to do a lunging outward figure eight strike. So it's going to look like this. I'm going to raise the nunchuck up. As I do that, my back foot kind of comes to it comes close to my other foot, like this. I'm not going to bring them together. If I bring it in, and I'm going to look to the left, and I'm going to go forward. So if you notice where this foot is right here, if you can see this foot, it's on a line. As I bring this one in, I'm going to lunge outward. Now it's no longer on that line. I moved a little bit of distance that direction. So I did my inward figure eight. I raise up. I look towards my left. I slide. I'm in a forward stance, and I do my outward figure eight strike. From here, I'm going to do a front strike. So I'm going to start facing the same direction as you. I want you to do it along with me. Cock the nunchuck up. step, strike. Bring it around, up, down, inward figure eight strike. Now, we're going to go and we're going to look towards our left, just like this. My back foot, let's make sure you can see it, is going to come up as this comes up. So I do a simple up from my inward figure eight. I'm going to do a outward figure eight strike, and then a front strike in the same position. So I'm in a forward stance. One more time, I'm here. I'm doing my inward figure eight block. I raise up, outward figure eight strike, front strike. Again, inward figure eight block. Here, feet come up. My foot comes up at the same time that I raise the nunchuck up. Strike, outward figure eight strike, front strike. Now, from here, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little more. I'm going to do a simple up. Here, did my front switch, and I'm going to face the other direction, outward figure eight strike. So again, I'm here. Bring it up, look left, strike, front strike, simple up, front switch. Now my back leg, which is my right leg, turns. I'm going to look towards my right. Now I'm in a right forward stance. And as I turn, as soon as that foot gets planted, that's when I'm doing my outward figure eight strike. Now from here, I'm going to step forward into a front stance. Remember, as we step forward, we kind of do our crescent footwork. So it comes in, out, and I do a front strike, just like this. As soon as my foot lands, that's when I throw my strike. They're together. So, from this position, let's start all the way from the beginning. So, here, strike, turn, raise up, step through, side swing, inward figure eight. Foot comes up as the nunchuck comes up, outward figure eight strike, front strike, simple up, front switch, outward figure eight strike, step through, front strike. One more time. Here, step, strike, around, up, inward figure eight. Together, outward figure eight strike, front strike. Simple up, front switch. Outward figure eight, step through, front strike. Simple up. So I do a simple up, it's over my left shoulder. And now my right foot is going to slide backwards as I do a front switch into a horse stance, just like this. From here, after I do my front switch, I'm going to do an outward figure eight strike. I'm here, outward figure eight strike, front strike. Again, so right here, step, strike, turn, raise it up as I'm stepping through. I did my side swing, inward figure eight block. I'm fixing my foot work. Step together, lunge, outward figure eight strike, front strike in the same stance. Lift up, front switch, turn, outward figure eight strike. Step through, front strike. Simple up, back foot, your right foot slides back into a horse stance as I do a front switch. I do a outward figure eight strike, front strike. Now from here, I'm going to do a simple up. And now I'm going to step forward with the left leg as I do a front switch. And that's going to be the end of the section 2. So let's go ahead and let's just do section 2 one more time. And then we're going to run through that whole portion again from the beginning. So I'm here at my inward figure eight block. I raise up, outward figure eight strike, front strike. Raise it up, switch, outward figure eight strike, step through, front strike. Simple up. My right foot came back on line with my left foot as I did a front switch, outward figure eight, front strike, step forward with the left. Excuse me. We do a simple up first and then step forward with the left and put it over our left shoulder with that front switch. So one more time. Here, outward figure eight strike, front strike, raise it up, switch, look to the right, outward figure eight strike with the left, step forward, front strike with the left. Simple up, front switch. It's over the right shoulder. I'm in a horse stance. My right foot moved to there. I do an outward figure eight with the right, front strike with the right, simple up, step forward with the left, and front switch. So I'm in a left forward stance, just like this, and it's over my left shoulder. Now let's start from the beginning and let's build up all the way to there. So I want you doing this along with me. Together, step, side strike, bring it around, simple up, side swing, inward figure eight. Together, outward figure eight strike, front strike, up, front switch, right leg goes around, right forward stance, outward strike. Now we're going to step forward, step through it, front strike, simple up, right foot, my back foot goes backwards into a horseback riding stance as I switch. Then I'm going to do a outward figure eight strike, and do a front strike, simple up, all in a horse stance, and step forward as I do that front switch. So that's sections 1 and 2 of Blitz Kata. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on striking an actual target. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Bob out here. If you have anything that you can strike, a heavy bag, a bob, even a tree. Yeah, I've done some of my striking on trees. Anything will work really, anything that you can hit. Obviously, you want to have wood nunchucks if you're hitting a tree. You want to have something hard. But I always recommend using something like actual wooden nunchucks anytime you train. But if this is your very first time hitting something, we're going to go over kind of the basics of being able to hit something. Because hitting something with nunchucks is different than hitting something with anything else, because it's a flexible weapon. So what we have to worry about with flexible weapons is the recoil, or not recoil, the ricochet. So as I strike here, one of the most common things that's going to happen is this is going to come back and it's going to slap me right here in the back of the hand. So when you're practicing this, use foam nunchucks. I say that, I don't like it. I'd honestly prefer if you didn't use foam nunchucks and you got MMA gloves or lacrosse gloves or hockey gloves or something that's going to cover your hand pretty well. I personally like lacrosse gloves the best because I feel like they allow for the most movement in the fingers but still offer the best protection for all parts of the hand. So if you have something like that, then you can still use your wooden nunchucks, which I would prefer. The reason I don't like the foam ones is because they're absorbent. So if I was to strike something, the foam absorbs some of the impact and it's not really going to give you the same reaction as if I was hitting it with wood. So I would prefer you to hit it with wood so you get the same reaction and just have something covering your hand. Even if you only have a boxing glove, you can use a boxing glove, put this in there, and still strike. You're going to know whenever you get hit because it'll hit, boom, and then it'll do something like that. Obviously, we don't want that. I'm not gonna get hit today. I'm gonna follow through with all my strikes, and hopefully you do too. But as a precaution, when you're first learning, use something to protect your hand. So we're gonna go over just 4 basic strikes, and it's gonna be like our figure eight. The first 2 are gonna be our figure eight strikes. So imagine our outward figure eight strike like this. Well, I can't really hit something like this. I can. It's just not gonna be quite as good if I do these little strikes like this. I want to do big follow-through strikes. So anytime I hit this target, I want to follow all the way through it. If I don't follow through, then I'm going to know. I'll feel it pretty fast. So the first 2 strikes are going to be a downward forehand at an angle, and then a backhand at an angle. So like I said, it's like our figure eight, except for now I'm moving all the way through with each of my strikes, just like this. Compared to these small movements, I'm making much larger movements and I'm putting power and I'm following through. Whenever we're impacting something, I want you to envision the arc or the trajectory of the strike. So if I'm going to do a different strike just to kind of talk about this point first. So let's say I'm facing you, right? My strike starts off here and my strike ends here. This whole trajectory is 180 degrees right here. So if I was to do this strike and I cut all the way through, say I'm doing it on Bob, I side strike. I cut all the way through. So I've got 180 degrees that it's moving, roughly, give or take a little bit. Now I want you to break that 180 degrees up, that whole arc, into 4 different pieces. So half of that is directly in front of me. That's my target. Now, I want you to break those in half again. So we have 4 different quadrants. So half of it is when I'm making contact with my opponent. The first half before this is all picking up speed and gaining momentum. Now, 1/4 after I make contact is when I'm allowed to have the nunchuck that I'm holding no longer point at my target. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that on Bob real fast. And I'm going to do it really slow. I'm going to be holding the other nunchuck. But so I'm striking here. The first half is all just picking up speed, gaining momentum. Notice, as I make contact with Bob, the tip of the chuck that I'm holding is pointed directly at Bob. I'm only going to be making contact with the last 4 to 5 inches. I don't want to make contact here. If I make contact here, the ricochet is way worse than if it's here. So I'm pointing it at Bob, right? The nunchuck that I'm holding. And now as I follow through, I still point it at Bob. So it's kind of weird. It's not pointed at Bob here, but as soon as it makes contact, I want to keep it pointed at Bob until my hand, so I'm just going to make a knife hand to demonstrate. Boom, I strike here. So this is 1/4 after Bob, after my strike. This is when I'm allowed to turn my hand over. So if I'm here, this is half. This is where I make contact with Bob. This is 1/4. This is where I can turn my hand over. So I went from palm facing up when I was doing my strike to palm facing down. The reason why I can't turn it over, and sometimes you hear, as soon as you're in front, that's when you turn the wrist over, and I'm going to demonstrate why we don't do that. So if I strike here, my palm's facing this way, and now I flip it over, what's happening? You see the distance between my hand and this part of the nunchuck? If I'm here, my hand is far away from it. I'm striking. Well, this wants to come back like this because it just hit Bob. It just hit something. So it's not going to stay going exactly like this in a straight line like if I was holding a stick. It's not going to do that. It's going to bend. And now if I turn the wrist over at the same time that I'm making contact, look how much closer my hand is. This already has momentum to come this way. If I do it right as I strike, boom, I'm going to bite my hand. This is the alligator's mouth. See it? If I do that, it's going to bite my hand each and every time. So I follow through with my strike, and then I can turn it over so it's not going to completely bite. So watch. I'm going to get hit on this one. I don't like that, but I'm going to get hit because I'm going to turn my hand over as soon as I hit Bob. And that's what's going to happen. Each and every time, if I turn my hand over, I'm kind of scared to do it because I don't like getting hit. I like doing it the correct way so I don't get hit. If I come here, boom. I turn it over, and I get hit right on the back of the hand each and every time. Now, if I follow through, and then I turn it over, boom, it's not going to hit my hand, especially if I keep the same amount of speed, or not really speed, but the same amount of power the entire time. It's just going to go right through. But now if I hit him, and I kind of stop, or I pause for a second, and this happens a lot too, because this turning over kind of slows you down. It pauses for a split second in the middle. So when I hit that, that's when I'm going to get hit. So we can't pause. We have to completely follow through each time we do our strike. When I get here, so on that backhand, boom, this is when I go from here and I turn my hand over on that backhand. Front hand, boom. When I'm here, that's when I turn it over and I strike. I'm following through. I'm turning my entire body too. I'm not just here, these little small movements. I'm going all the way through. That's what you need to do. You have to have that really good follow through. Don't pause as you hit something. If you pause as you hit something, you're going to get hit by the nunchucks. I guarantee it. Don't pause as you hit something. Follow through. Follow through. Each and every time we do these strikes, we have to follow all the way through with them. So, hopefully you kind of got the idea of this. You're probably still going to hit some if this is your first time hitting a target with nunchucks. Again, put on MMA gloves, put on lacrosse gloves, put something on to save your hands. I don't recommend doing this if you do not have some sort of hand protection. If you don't have hand protection with me, this is what I want you doing. I want you going all the way through with these strikes. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice my hips are turning. I'm putting power into them. Doesn't matter which order I go with them. I'm just doing 1, 2, 3, 4 with my angles. So follow through. Again, if you don't have gloves, I just want you practicing turning your whole body, bringing it all the way from one side to the other, and imagining where your target is, which is right in the center, and then turning over a quarter past, making contact with your target. If you do have gloves or you do have some sort of protective gear that you can use, and you have something you can hit, I want you to do this along with me. We're going to be striking at Bob. So we're going to do our angles 1 through 4. Lift it over your shoulder, strike 1, all the way onto this side. Now, see how my hips are all the way coiled? I'm going to uncoil them. 2. Now I'm going to go in a horizontal line, and it's a side strike. 3. Now I'm going to do a backhand side strike. 4. And I follow through. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, try not to make contact here. We want to make contact here. I go into a little bit more kind of in the middle between a long grip, because I'm not a big fan of holding it right at the bottom. I tend to lose the nunchucks if I do that. I kind of hold mine in between a middle grip and a long grip whenever I strike targets. You definitely want a little bit more distance though in this, because you're following through. You're not trying to recoil it or bring it back as fast, so you want that distance. You should be able to know, hey, I can hit my target here. Now if I'm in a closer middle grip, I have to get a little bit closer to hit my target. So I want you to kind of be aware of that distancing too. Again, let's just practice a little bit more. Strike all the way through, each and every time. Make sure we don't stop whenever we're making contact. We're just making contact with the last 4 inches or so of the nunchuck. All the way through. And I'm kind of going fast because I like to go fast when I strike it. And usually if you go fast, you're less likely to hit your hand. But again, the same thing applies. It's follow through that really matters. Even if I go slow, I can go through without getting hit if I have that follow through. If I don't have that follow through, boom, I got hit. Boom. You're much more likely to get hit. So follow through, whether you're going slow and cutting all the way through it, or you're going fast and putting power into it. I tend to find if I put a lot of power into it and I go pretty fast, I'm much less likely to have that recoil or the ricochet, because the string is going to stay tight the whole time. If I kind of go slower, sometimes the ricochet is a little bit faster and it causes a coil in the string. And if we have that, then we're even more likely to get hit by that ricochet. So, like I said, I like to go fast whenever I strike through. But if you want to go softer, make sure we follow through each and every time. Keep going, keep striking. Now, you probably did that all with your right hand. If you're right-handed, if you're left-handed, you probably will with your left hand. So now here's the scary part. We're going to put it in our bad hand. So I'm going to put it in my left hand. And we're going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to strike all the way through. Strike through. Strike through. So long as you have those good mechanics, you should be safe. Remember, don't fear the nunchucks. You just have to go through with it. The more you practice, the better you're going to get, the more confident you're going to get with actually being able to strike. So remember, as we're doing this, the angles we're striking on before was 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going 2, 1, 4, 3, because the angles are going to be the exact same direction, but now since we're holding it with the other hand, it's going to be opposite. So 2, 1, 4, 3. I switch over to the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch to the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. So keep practicing. Practice it with your left hand or your non-dominant hand, I would say, quite a few times. You usually want to practice more on your bad side than you do on your good side. Remember, just follow all the way through. Turn your hips. Now, we're going to do one set of 4 on one side, one set of 4 on the other side. So, I'm going to start with my dominant hand, my right hand. I'm going to strike 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to raise it up. Front switch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up. Front switch. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you want to work on your distance. If you noticed, there's a few times, especially with my left hand, obviously I don't train my left hand enough, where I glanced off it, or I didn't even make contact. I just barely missed it. So we want to be working on that depth. We want to know where we're hitting. We also don't want to hit way too close with it. So it's a little bit of a game. We kind of play, okay, I'm not hitting him, and now I'm going to hit him. Boom, boom. Now I'm not going to hit him. You can work on this concept of barely being able to touch him or not quite being able to touch him, and then working on touching him. And then, okay, here's my distance. I can't touch him. I know I can't touch him. Okay, I can touch him. Nope, can't touch him again. I can touch him. So that'll kind of help you, because you're going to have the proper distance. If they're too close, you might have to come up and have a shorter grip on your nunchucks. You're going to have to adjust and play around based on what your opponent gives you. You never know what's going to happen. Remember, our opponents are always moving. Our opponents are always live. They're not ever just going to stand there and just let you wail on them. That's not ever going to be a thing. So you want to be able to recognize the distance between what I'm striking, the type of grip I have, and where I'm striking. All right? So now what we're going to do, we kind of went over and touched the concepts of being able to hit, making sure you follow through, turning the wrist over a quarter after we did our strike or we made contact. So those are some of the key concepts behind striking a target. I want you to be able to actually hit something instead of just being all fancy and spinning. You want to be able to actually use it. It is a martial arts weapon. So what's the point of using a weapon if you can't use the weapon as a weapon? You know, it's not just some little play toy that we flip around. Granted, it's fun, but we want to still be able to use it in a practical sense as well. On that note, we are going to do what I just said, and we're going to have some fun with it. We're just going to spin it around. We're going to play around with it. We're going to freestyle some. So if you want to think about this as I have some strikes, and then I kind of play around, I intimidate my opponent, and then strike through. If you want to practice it that way, that's perfectly fine. Or if you just want to sit here and do all of your strikes that are all on one side, you can do everything that we know that's on one side, and then you can move it to the other side, or back and forth, whatever you want to do. This is the time. It's freestyle. So go ahead, just kind of play around with it. Practice whatever you want. Outward figure eights, around the neck. Doesn't have to be what we work today. Could be anything that you know with nunchucks. Even some of the other stuff like, you know, around the hand. If you know how to do this, you can go ahead and throw that in there as well. This is freestyle. Do whatever you like. We're just trying to get a feel for how to move around the nunchucks. The more you move them around, the better you're going to get. It's simple as that. Doesn't matter what you're doing with them, as long as you're constantly working with them. Try to add some footwork in there. Try not to stay in the same spot. Move around. Change your grips. You could be a long grip. You could play short grip. Whatever you want to do with it. You want to work on some speed with your figure eights? Go ahead and do that. Make sure you work on your bad side just as much or more than you do on your good side. Remember, playing around, doing your freestyle, probably one of the most fun things to do with nunchucks is just to swing them So if you'd like to, go ahead and keep doing that. We're going to go ahead and end the class right now. So let's go ahead and stand, bow. Great job on that. Like I said, use those concepts that you've learned for today, whether you're practicing hitting something or just freestyling. They'll all kind of be put together. Biggest thing, just keep playing with the nunchucks.